Welcome to T21 Mom.
Hi friend, it's Mary, mom to Ainsley, who rocks an extra chromosome with a slice of autism. And welcome back to the T21 Mom podcast. And this is episode 132. And on today's episode, the Down Syndrome Diaries continue. Have you ever experienced lack of proper medical care, in particular to your child with Down syndrome? On today's episode, I chat with Rockin' mom Pooja Mehta, who was failed continuously by the medical community, beginning with the failure to inform her on some of her prenatal scans that there were some markers that could definitely be indicative of Down syndrome. And these continued through the birth of her son and post-birth of her son. One doctor even wrote in her chart that she felt her son had Down syndrome, yet no one ever said anything to her until she went for a checkup appointment. Even the hospital administration who followed up with Pooja seemed more concerned that she got her Chanel No. 5 perfume in the gift bag that the hospital gave new moms, and did not seem the least bit concerned about the total failure of the medical system. Pooja's story is pretty raw, and I found it really quite heartbreaking at times. So just kind of keep that in mind, and let's go have a listen.
Today on the T21 Mom podcast, we are going international. Joining me today from all the way from India is Pooja Mehta. Welcome, Pooja.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's exciting to have people from like different places around the world. So I've had a few international guests, so it's quite, I think it's kind of unique to meet people from all over the world. We're all on a similar journey and, but we're on all continents of the planet. So it's quite exciting to meet all these amazing moms. So as I just said, you're from India, but you spent several years in the US and your kids, I believe, were born there, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I've been married for 14 years. I moved to the US soon after I got married.
Mm-hmm.
So lived there for 13 and a half years and then recently moved back to India last August.
And how has that gone? So, because your kids obviously had lived their whole lives in the States and now they're in India. How has that been?
Yeah, so it's been very interesting. So my husband and we have two boys. My older one is 8.5.
Mm-hmm.
My younger one is close to 5. He's turning 5 in June.
Okay.
So my older one, Arya, has Down. So I think with respect to the move, yes, in a way, it has been overwhelming for all four of us. But I feel that my children adjusted the best because I guess children are resilient, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they live in the moment. So yes, they do miss US. They do tell me they want to go to Costco, they want to go to Giants. They talk about their school and the daycare that my little one went to,
Mm-hmm.
our neighbors. They do talk about all those things, the restaurants we used to go to or the places, and we have some family there, so we do talk about all of that. But I think they've still adjusted much better than my husband and I. And yeah, I mean, like, we do have family here also, so that has been very helpful,
Mm-hmm.
having support. So I would say, yeah, doing okay so far.
That's great. Yes, and kids are resilient. So, but that's interesting that you said they've adapted better than you and your husband. So,
Oh, for sure.
yeah. Well, that's wonderful to hear. And sorry, what are their names?
uh, Arya is my older son, and Avi, AVI.
AVI. Okay. So today we're talking about different diagnosis stories, and everyone's is so different, even though we've all received the same diagnosis. How was your pregnancy? Were there any problems or issues, or was it rather uneventful, your pregnancy with your first son who has Down syndrome?
So before I begin talking about that, Giving you a heads up, I might just start getting emotional and tear up at any moment.
It's okay.
I hope you are okay with that. Um,
100%.
but no, it was actually pretty uneventful. I was working in a school setting in New Jersey back then. And, my husband and I decided that, we are ready to have a baby. And I was pregnant right away and didn't have really any medical issues or any other health concern, no major mood swings or the pregnancy symptoms or none of those things. It was a pretty easy breezy pregnancy. I even went, I guess, and yeah, I mean, like, we flew there and I was roaming around and, like, you know it was just blissful period, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I've only have the one child, but I had a super easy pregnancy and I was an older mom too. I had zero complications and so that's wonderful that you didn't have any issues. Now, when we were chatting back and forth before today, you had said that you had, quote, all the testing done. What
Sure.
tests did you have?
So let me explain you. When I got pregnant, I used to live at a different location in New Jersey than when I delivered. And after my second trimester, beginning of my third trimester, we moved within the state just to be closer to my husband's work, so that he didn't have to commute so much when I was not going to be actively working for a little bit of a time at least. Um, and we wanted him to be home earlier, when the baby arrives and all of that. So during my first trimester and second trimester, I got the screening tests done where they prick, I don't know the names of the tests, but like it was like, a little bit of prick on my finger and like droplets of blood were taken.
Okay.
Um, and I also got ultrasound done both during my first trimester around 12 weeks or so, 13 weeks, and also somewhere during 17, 18 weeks, 18 to 20 weeks period. Both the times I had ultrasound done. Interestingly, I got to know after my baby was born and all of that, and I started understanding Down syndrome better, that even when I was pregnant with my first one, the NIPT test, which is considered a relatively easy and pretty sensitive test, could have been offered to me. The insurance had already approved for that for our state of New Jersey, but it was never, like, I was never told about that test by anybody. I didn't know
Okay.
about that.
Oh, really?
That was
Okay.
never done. No, my OBGYN or anybody else never told me about this. So during my 7th month, we moved and I changed my OBGYN practice because we moved to a different area. And when I transferred, I like they gave me the transfer papers, a thick bunch of about 35 sheets with all the medical lingo and like things written, which obviously I could not comprehend, that I had to hand over to my new doctor. And we did that. And everything uneventful till the day of pregnancy.
Or day
So,
of
I mean, till the
delivery.
day of delivery, sorry.
Yes,
Uh,
okay.
and I go to the hospital, I'm in labor. And what happened was that the baby's head position was not the way it should have been for vaginal delivery. And the doctor tried to move manually.
Oh,
Uh,
geez.
but then every time she tried doing that, the fetal heart rate was going down. So we tried for a few hours,
Oh,
and
jeez.
then at one point, the doctor said that, the heart rate is just going down. This is not safe. We need to go in for C-section. And obviously, we went in for C-section. A great reputed hospital. And like I had my C-section, you know, he cried immediately after birth. And till then, everything was good.
So they bring the baby over to you,
Yes.
and obviously, I'm sure it's your first child, and you're just probably overcome with emotions. But both as you mentioned to me, you and your husband had some similar thoughts.
Yes.
What was that?
So, see, it was C-section, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the way it is, like my husband was standing right next to me,
Mm-hmm.
and like the hours leading up to the C-section, I got little tensed because the baby's heart rate kept dipping and all of that. And all in that moment, we didn't know the gender of the baby, by the way.
Okay.
So all in that moment I wanted was baby safety, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, and when the delivery happened, and like I heard my son cry,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just a big sigh of relief
Yeah.
in that moment. And I was still a little groggy from all the epidural and
Mm-hmm.
everything that's going on, right? I was not fully conscious to understand everything. But the moment we saw our baby, and my husband and I used to talk about this throughout the pregnancy, that, what is it that I want from me to for the baby to have, and what is it that we want from him for the baby to have. So he has like brown eyes and I love them, and I'm like, I wish the baby has your eyes, and I'm the creative one, so I was like, I wish the baby gets like my creativity. And he's really like better looking than me, and I was like, I wish the baby looks like you. And all of that, right? Like we constantly had that conversation. My first look at the baby, I was relieved, but something felt amiss, that he didn't look like either my husband or I. Like he looked
Mm-hmm.
like himself, not so much like him, not so much like me. He looked a little different. But obviously in that moment we never spoke, because like they showed us the baby for like barely like 2 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
and they took the baby back, and like they had to put some drop in the eye, and like wrap the baby, and like whatever. And I was still like getting things done, the stitching, and there was a lot going on in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
uh, so I wasn't thinking straight, and we were just relieved. My husband and I,
Of
first thought was relief.
of
Yay,
course.
he's here, and wow, we are parents.
Yeah.
And obviously, like for my husband, I could feel the baby inside me, but like for him, he had something much more tangible at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So the emotions of new parents, right? With a lingering thought at the back of our head that he's not looking like us, like is like what's the scene. But still, like that is like so at the back of your mind, because you have
Mm-hmm.
all these other emotions running. So he was born at 9:08 p.m.
Okay.
on a Thursday evening, the Thursday before Thanksgiving.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Okay. And so because it was C-section, I was in the hospital for 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
So Thursday night, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday is when I got discharged.
So before you got discharged, did you not see something in the pediatrician's notes?
No, I I never had any access to any notes or anything of that sort. There were a couple of things that I was slightly concerned about, like he didn't latch. But that is something that some children don't do
Mm-hmm.
easily. Some children do it so easily, and some take time. I was also told that sometimes babies born with C-section take a little more time. And I was told that you just have to keep trying, and it will happen. Also, the next day, my OBGYN who had delivered me came to see me in the hospital the day after the delivery, in the
Mm-hmm.
morning, Friday morning. And she explained to me why C-section had to be done. And she spoke about how the baby's head position was like this, and also that the umbilical cord was short.
Mm, okay.
Back then, I had no idea what that means. I just thought it's a structural anomaly. I
Mm-hmm.
have various anomalies in my body, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But my very close friend in the US is a pediatrician. She and her husband both are pediatricians. And they kind of suspected that short umbilical cord is Pooja's baby, okay, which obviously I came to know later. So I was there for 4 days. I asked some questions about, why the baby is not latching. He's little, very tiny. He's sleeping too much. I have to constantly like wake him up and feed him and all of that. And for everything, it was like, yeah, that happens. Yes, it's common. In fact, when, like for burping, when he was laid, the nurse laid him like in prone position on her arm, and he was so tiny at that time, and his arms and legs just flopped like this.
Right.
That was absent Moro's reflex. I didn't know about that,
Mm-hmm.
but now that should have been a pretty obvious thing for them. And I think, and their notes actually noted that this baby does not have Moro's reflex. The baby should have gone like, in that flying kind of
Mm-hmm.
pose,
Yeah.
but he was not going like that. And you know we would wonder that this baby looks like too, I don't know, like sleepy, tired
Yeah.
all the time, like, but then it's a newborn baby, and newborns are newborns. Like, I even asked the nurse, he doesn't look like me or my husband, and the nurse said, well, all newborn babies look like aliens, and then like they have a lot of water retention, and things settle down in few days. And I'm like, okay, you wait for things to settle down in a few days. And he had a mild jaundice,
Mm-hmm.
very mild jaundice, not requiring any phototherapy or anything of that sort. And so I was like told that feed him more, he needs to pee and poop more, so that he can get rid of all his extra bilirubin. And at the time of discharge, I was told that tomorrow you go to a pediatrician just to make sure that he's not looking yellow at all, like his levels are going down and clinically he's healthy. And we packed him up in car seat and went back home.
So you were in the hospital for 4 days, and
Yes.
not one person, not one doctor ever indicated even the possibility that your baby had Down syndrome?
No idea whatsoever.
And you said they noted in the charts about his lack of reflex. Like, did you see that in the charts, or did you just know that they wrote it down?
So what happened was, on day 5, as per their suggestions, when we went to the pediatrician, he asked for thyroid reports and vision reports and heart and all of that. And I was just wondering, being from India, having seen my aunts and my cousins and, like people in my circle deliver babies, that no baby had like all these testing. I knew about universal hearing screening, but I didn't know that these things could be tested for babies or are being tested. And I'm like, wow, US is quite advanced. They do all the testing for babies. That's fantastic. And I said that no, they didn't do anything. And the doctor said, seriously? Like they sent a child with Down syndrome without getting any testing done?
And that was the first you had heard the words
Yes.
Down syndrome?
Yes.
Holy smoke. So what did you think in that moment?
I wasn't thinking.
And was your
Everything froze. The time froze. The moment froze. My head was spinning. The walls around me were spinning. I'm like, how on earth is what? Who? What? Like all what? Why? Who? Like why? What's happening right now? Like how on earth? I did the screening. Down syndrome is always detected during pregnancy. You know, we were in the hospital for 4 days. They are checking my son's bilirubin every day. I'm in like one of the top hospitals in the nation. I go through one of the best practices. How can this be happening? And the other thought was that pediatrician was from a country that does not have a very good reputation for different reasons, like Being coming from India, I wasn't expecting that pediatrician to be my son's pediatrician in that moment. And I'm like, I don't know where this guy has gotten his degree from, and I don't know what he's talking about. Like, what rubbish is this? Like, of course, my child does not have Down syndrome. Otherwise, I would have known. Somebody would have told me. I got all these scans done, and I went to two different OB/GYN practices. And the pediatricians has been seeing my son twice, thrice a day for the last 4 days. How is it that nobody knows? Like, it's just, insane.
Was it, do you know if it was ever noted in your
Yes.
baby's files?
You're talking about postnatal, right? By the pediatrician.
So you go on day 5 to
Yes.
this other pediatrician, but did you ever find out later from the hospital if it was ever noted in the hospital
Yes.
files that there was a
Yes.
possibility of Down syndrome?
Yes. So he, as I mentioned, he was born at 9:08 p.m. And that same night around 1:30 a.m. So that was Friday 1:30 a.m. The pediatrician on floor who saw my son at the nursery has made a beautiful record of all the things that she saw, including the slanting eyes, low muscle tone, saddle feet, or whatever, the saddle toes, and Moro's reflex. And she has actually mentioned the child suspected to have Down syndrome.
But nobody said
No.
anything.
And she has also written checked for heart murmurs, no murmurs, so no further cardiac testing warranted.
Okay.
Which was again like a very stupid thing, because murmur is not the only thing. That is the reason all babies have to get actual ultrasound and all those tests done, because there are murmurs could be misleading.
Right. And did you ever see that doctor at all after that?
No, I did not. I spoke with that doctor. Uh, so what happened was, after this day 5, the pediatrician told us about this.
Yeah.
At night, I called. By the time, like after the pediatrician, we went to an ER in New Jersey and tried to get the test done. I didn't know that you have to go through a geneticist to get the test done. I thought it was like a blood test that shows something. And the ER doctor, interestingly, the resident doctor at the ER said, his features are kind of mixed. Maybe he has Down syndrome, maybe he doesn't. And I was like, what? Like, is this something you talk so casually to a parent about? Like, it's not like maybe
Yeah.
it's a rash, maybe it's not. Like, I mean, this is Down syndrome we are talking about.
Yeah.
And that, after the whole ER episode, we reached home very late at night, and I called my OB/GYN's office, my current OB/GYN's office, that this is what has happened. First of all, the nurse was not letting the doctor come online, and she said that this is not a medical emergency for you. We cannot get the doctor on call to come and talk to you. And I said, listen, lady, this is something big. You
Yeah.
better get the doctor, otherwise I will keep calling again and again. And I called 5 times, and finally I got to speak with the on-call doctor, and I said that this is what has happened today. Did you guys know about any of this? And he said that, see, these testings are done in the first and the second trimester. You came to us in the third trimester. So I said, but I did give you all the paperwork from my previous doctor. Please take a look and tell me. And that doctor looked at all of my previous 35, 40 pages paperwork and said, oh, yes, your ultrasound did have markers. There was a missing nasal bone, which is pretty indicative of Down
Down
syndrome or
syndrome.
a common genetic, condition. Signed off by my old OB/GYN, never looked at by my new OB/GYN.
Wow.
And then the next day I called the hospital, and I'm like calling all these people that what's going on, like is this actually happening? Because I'm trying to understand how is it that in 2015
Mm-hmm.
in a country like US, in a in a very well developed place, in one of the best hospitals in the nation, how is this happening to us? And we told the hospital we want every record, every little thing about me and my son, and they said that it costs X number of cents per page. We are like, just give us whatever you have. And there was a lot of pushback on that. And it took us a long while to actually get that in our hands. It took us about a month or so to get
Wow.
those papers. And I'm like, this is my body, and this is like, if things were done to me and to my child, and I have a right to see all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, very clearly, we saw that the doctor had written, I don't want to say her name, I remember her name and everything. And I remember how her notes look and all of that. And she has written all of these things. Like, and just to add on to the hospital experience. So, like basically, like, day 5, we were told this on
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday. Next day was Thanksgiving. The earliest geneticist appointment we got was for following Monday. So 5 days we had to just wait it out. In between, we went to see another pediatrician on on Black Friday, and she clearly said that this baby has Down syndrome. Till that moment, my husband had some hope that maybe it's not because of the what the ER doctor said, and just trying to come to terms with how is it that nobody tells us about this
Mm-hmm.
diagnosis. It is something that is always picked up. It's unheard of that people test for this and it's never picked up.
Like, do you know why that happened? Like, why, like, did you ever get any answers as to why that was missed when it was clearly stated in the medical notes, but not one person, one medical person, doctor after that made any mention of it?
It's the system, the way the system works, in my opinion, and medical negligence. Uh,
Wow.
because the thing is, like at my previous OBGYN's practice, they had an in-house ultrasound technician,
Mm-hmm.
and it was their practice was part of a hospital building, and in the same building they also had maternal fetal medicine department.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what maternal fetal medicine department does. All
Okay.
I was told was, you can get your ultrasound done right here in our office or down on the first floor. And I'm like, who's going to be doing it down on the first floor? And they said that a technician. And I'm thinking, in this office, my OBGYN can right then and there see my ultrasound being
Mm-hmm.
done.
Yeah.
This is like a better choice for me. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know that another specialist was going to view my results down there. I had no idea about that. I
Mm-hmm.
was not told one is better than the other. I was just given these two options. You can do it here or you can do it down there. And I'm like, I'm coming here to see the doctor. I might as well get it done here. It's just easier than waiting at two different places.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I go in for the ultrasound. She did it. The doctor saw everything is good, sent me back home.
And is that the ultrasound that indicated no nasal bone?
Yes, yes,
And how
yes.
long after that did you change OBGYNs?
So that was around fifth month. So maybe like 1.5 month to 1.5 months.
So they had time to review that
Yes,
and to tell
yes.
you.
They had
That's
time. My new OBGYN had time. The hospital had 4 days. And I'll tell you something interesting. After I was discharged from the hospital,
mm-hmm.
about a month later, I got a call for getting, like, feedback on my experience at the hospital.
Oh,
That's
jeez.
a beautiful story. So, being a very good reputed hospital, they gave a little goodie bag to all new moms,
Okay.
which had a little perfume, a little eyeshadow, and, like, sun little cute sunscreen. It was Chanel 5 perfume. Okay,
Okay.
pretty fancy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I get this call after a month, and the lady is asking me, I'm here to ask, how was your pain managed at the hospital and how was your experience? And I very nicely, politely told her that yes, the medical part was managed very well. But you know what? This is what happened with me. I delivered a child with Down syndrome that nobody told me about. So she said, okay, but you got the Chanel 5 perfume, right? Did that make you happy?
I'm like dumbfounded. Like,
I
oh
know.
my gosh. Like who's
It had
making these
just been
calls?
it had just been a few days since we actually got our fish test and karyotype results.
Mm-hmm.
And like never had time to process anything.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I that was the first time I just laughed so much, and then I cried so much, and
Yeah.
then I was angry so much. All of it like happening in that cycle after that one statement that that lady said. But you
That
got the Chanel 5 perfume, right? Like that was supposed to compensate
that was supposed to
for
compensate for
everything.
people not telling you something that is very critically important, that your child has Down syndrome. Like that blows my mind. And
Yeah,
they they obviously need to train these people a lot better.
I know.
And that is absolutely appalling. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. That is horrible. And how was your husband during this time?
He was my rock. He is still my rock. He brings the stability in the family. Going back to day 5 when the doctor said this is the child with Down syndrome. Being a speech and language pathologist, I knew what Down syndrome is. My
Mhm.
husband is into software. He did not know what Down syndrome is. And maybe to some level, ignorance is bliss, right?
Mhm.
And he's like, okay, what is it? And I am unable to even articulate it. And how do I like break it to him what this doctor just told us? Because I know what this means.
Mhm.
Like y- what do we do? And my mom had both my parents and my husband's parents live in India. My mom was there with me for the delivery. She came to help with the delivery and the part after that.
Mhm.
He didn't have anybody. I had my mom.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
went through this whole process, right?
Mhm.
And like obviously like we're talking to our family members back in India, and it was like when, how, and when do we tell, like what do we tell them, and all of that. And the way it was like, it was this doctor who said your child has Down syndrome, but how is it that nobody told us earlier? And the doctor said that maybe it is, maybe it is not. So my husband was still like, kind of in denial or hoping that maybe it's not Down syndrome,
Mhm.
maybe these people are wrong.
Yeah.
But on Black Friday, when the pediatrician, another pediatrician's opinion we went to take, and she showed us like 15 things on him. Look at his eyes, and look at
Mhm.
the way his tummy is shaped, and look at that crease, simian crease, and all of these little things, and the Moro's reflex, and the flat nose, and all of that. It kind of occurred to him that shucks,
Yeah.
this is actually happening.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the doctor left the room, and it was just me and my husband. And Arya was like sleeping there. And like, you know, we had that moment where it was like, yeah,
This
this is
is real.
real.
This is
And
it.
even after that, another doctor, while we were waiting for our genetic test results to come, because then we visited like so many specialists, because the geneticist told us not to wait for the test, first get the heart tested, vision
Mhm.
tested, and this and that. We visited a bunch of specialists, and a lot of them would say that he doesn't have those striking features of a trisomy 21 baby. And
Mhm.
so, after the meeting with the geneticist, my husband was hoping that maybe it's mosaic,
Yeah.
because maybe, hopefully, it's mosaic. because he knew it is Down syndrome. But if it is mosaic, hopefully it's, the extra 21st chromosome is in limited part of his body or cells, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe some of his brain is spared, or like
Mm-hmm.
it will be
Mm-hmm.
milder, in that case.
Right.
Now
Yeah.
we know that's not how it works. It could be still anything, but then, the day we got the karyotype and the geneticist called and said that it is, trisomy 21, the what we were expecting.
Mm-hmm. And
It
what
was
was
what it is.
the emotions at that point? Like, it sounds like you had already come to some level of acceptance that yes, your son does have Down syndrome. Your husband is kind of on the fence and maybe in a bit of
No, I think,
denial.
the thing is, like, it was interesting because the initial acceptance that yes, this is a child with Down syndrome, I had it faster, sooner.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment, like, he was hoping for mosaic Down syndrome, he had that level of acceptance. Okay.
Okay.
But post that, once everything was confirmed, and like 1 to 2 months down the line, when we were kind of settling with life with a new
Mm-hmm.
baby and getting, like, trying to figure out all the therapies, and he was going to, like, transitioning back to going to office full day and all of that, and life after that, acceptance has always been better for him than for me.
Really?
Yes, much better, much more rational, much more, like, I recently learned that true acceptance comes when you stop questioning why this happened.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
happened. Acceptance means you just accept it happened. There is no why or what if attached to it. He had that much before me. For me, I went through this whole grief cycle, and I had a lot of anger that why wasn't I told this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was kind of robbed of that opportunity to make an informed decision for myself.
Do
You
you,
know,
what, like looking back, and I ask often ask this question, do you prefer that I mean, you kind of got a post-birth diagnosis, or would you have preferred to have had a prenatal diagnosis
100%.
of
100%.
100%?
I
Which way?
prenatal. I
Pre-
feel that,
Wow.
you know, it had to be my choice. It doesn't matter what my choice is and whether somebody agrees with me or no, and even for anybody else, like, I feel that, this is that woman's right to know that
Mm-hmm.
this is happening, and, you know what she does, is like, even ethically speaking, nobody else can decide for
Mm-hmm.
her what is right or wrong. There is no right or wrong here. It is a very individual experience and individual belief, and everybody has different circumstances. So, you know what pissed me a lot was, on day 6 I called my old OBGYN,
Mm-hmm.
and the one who had actually signed off on those notes. It was a group practice of 5 doctors. I spoke with the very same one who signed off on those papers. And he said, "Oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But let me tell you, you are much better off with a child with Down syndrome. Had it been some other kind of syndrome or autism, you would be in a worse position."
What is that
And that
supposed to?
was the apology. That was
Wow.
his apology.
That's
Very
astounding.
insensitive.
Very
So,
insensitive.
yeah. So I think, it for the first initial days or months,
Mm-hmm.
my emotions were not really about how my child has Down syndrome and what it could do for him. It was more about me. It
Mm-hmm.
was more about, look how these people broke this news to me. Look what they have to reply when I ask these questions. Look, this doctor had the audacity to say something like this. and they never told me about this. And like, just why are all these bad things happening to me while I'm struggling with, pumping breast milk, acting like a cow all day long, hooked to my breast pump, and like like with, one hand like on my phone trying to scroll at what now, what next, because I lost faith in the system.
Mm-hmm.
I completely lost faith in the medical system, that you are not telling, doctors are not telling me the child could have Down syndrome. Even after knowing, they are not telling them us that you need to get heart tested or vision tested or thyroid tested. And fortunately, things were okay medically for him. But what if they were not? And like
Right.
now, I can't rely on them. I've got
Mm-hmm.
to figure this out on my own. So my husband and I, oh my god, like the amount of research we've done, like we did a crash course in Down syndrome in like few days.
Was there any other, like, I know in the States it's much different than in Canada. There's a lot of people sue in the States. Like, did you ever go after any of, like, I mean, you can decline to
That's,
answer, that's
yeah,
fine.
I would decline to answer that question.
Okay. Because,
But I'll tell you something very interesting. Another thing that has stuck with me till date is we went and saw all these doctors, and I was half the times I was crying and like venting out my story and frustration to anybody and everybody I was
mhm,
encountering, whether it was a nurse or technician with the doctor, or the doctor itself taking the history, blah blah blah. And everybody said, I'm so sorry. Like, everybody was very sympathetic about this whole incident and, whatever was happening. And then I went to a lactation consultant. Another mom who had a child with Down syndrome
mhm,
recommended going to her. And the first thing she said was, congratulations, your
mhm.
baby is beautiful. That was the first time I was treated outside of home by anybody as a new mom, and
And
my child was seen as a child.
and how old was your baby at that point? How old was your son?
Barely like 4 weeks or so,
So
four
a
to
month
five.
old, and you haven't
Yeah,
heard that. And
no.
that,
And obviously, friends and relatives who know I had a baby like send congratulatory messages, but most of them didn't know
right.
what was happening or whatever. Only like my very very close friends and immediate family members knew about this at that time. But my only contact outside of home was these doctors' visits,
Mhm.
right? And that was the first time someone said that, and in that moment, I was like, for that second, I'm a mom and this is my
Mhm.
newborn,
Yeah.
and the whole Down syndrome piece does not exist.
That's really heartbreaking. Like, your story is really, it is heartbreaking to hear that, like, so many people failed you. So
Yes,
many people. People, doctors, professionals who should have been there to support you and provide you the right information, and they all failed you miserably. Not just one, but many. And I'm very sorry to hear that. Just from my own personal experience, I often have, like, when I see other babies that are other races, I find sometimes it is more difficult to tell that they have Down syndrome, as opposed, like,
right,
I'm white, I'm Caucasian, and it seems more like, just from what I have seen, that's just my own personal opinion, that
right.
it seems more obvious. But I've seen other babies of other races, and I go, I can't really tell. And I would think I'm somewhat of an expert, because I have a
Right.
kid with Down syndrome, and I find it hard. But you would think that, I mean, it was noted in the file, so that's what's
E-
still so appalling, that.
Exactly, exactly.
And you're a new mom. This is your first
Yeah,
child. So how would you
yeah,
know any different, that the baby is really sleepy, and or the baby's floppy? Like, you wouldn't necessarily
exactly.
know that those are indicators for Down syndrome. It's just kind of mind blowing. But so your son, he's now eight,
Eight and a half.
eight and a
Eight
half.
and a half.
Are things better now?
For him or for me?
I mean, both of you, I guess.
So
Really.
for him, it there's no question of comparison because it is what it is, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what do I compare it with to call it better or worse or same, right?
Mm-hmm.
His life has been his life, his own journey. It's been, I would say, a roller coaster ride.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of emotional up and downs, lots of moments of glows and victories.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this is something I've heard from every single parent of a child with disability, that we appreciate things that most other people
Take for
don't even
granted.
realize,
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
totally take for granted, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh, some of those, you know what also happened was I felt more connected to a lot of other parents on similar journey
Mm-hmm.
than maybe some of my friends or family members, because they wouldn't get it. Only
Mm-hmm.
these parents would get it, right? So
That's
why something
100%.
is, yes, why something is so bothersome, or why am I celebrating seemingly insignificant thing, right?
No,
It's
we
only
sell,
our tribe
no,
that
but
gets it.
in our community, we celebrate the smallest things big because it is big for our
It
kids.
is big.
And like for other parents, it's not a big deal. Oh, they sat up today or they've taken their first steps. Like for us, like it's takes so much longer for our kids to get there and they work
Yeah,
so much harder to achieve those milestones. Like people outside of our world, our Down syndrome world, have really no idea how hard our kids work to achieve these, what most people just take for granted. And we have to celebrate our kids. You know, they're worthy of that and worthy of being celebrated.
absolutely. And see, the thing is, like, first word and first step, even like a lot of most, like, everybody is like excited about, hey, my kid started walking or whatever. But smallest thing, like, you know, he he tried a piece of bread today that he had
Hmm.
never done.
Right.
Or like he attempted to put this, he touched it, got it closer to his mouth and let it put it down. He's not even eaten it, but I'm still celebrating like him bringing it close to his mouth.
Hmm.
It is some of those very, very tiny moments that always, like, I mean, I remember the clothes he was wearing when that happened, the place we were, like every little detail. Like, I have
Hmm.
all these images in my head that other people will be like, what
Hmm.
are you like talking, like what's there in this picture? And I'm like, but you know what, I took this picture right after this happened,
Hmm.
and that's why it's so precious.
Yeah.
It's a blurry, badly taken image with glare and not good lighting and all, but I know the significance here.
Yeah. Oh, and I think that's the same for most of us,
Most
you
of
know,
us.
with it, because those are important to remember for our kids because those things don't come easily and they work so tremendously hard to get there.
Yeah.
You've had quite the roller coaster, and you are actually the first person who has said that they would have preferred to get their diagnosis the other way. Every person I
Oh,
have ever
very
asked
interesting.
there was one lady who was kind of on the fence, but you very definitively said you would have rather have had a prenatal diagnosis, and not one person I've ever met has ever said that. So that's very interesting. But I also think that's attributed to all the trauma around your son's birth diagnosis that could have
Yeah.
all easily been prevented if you had known ahead of time.
Yeah.
You know, everyone would have been prepared. I had a prenatal diagnosis. All the doctors that were there for the delivery were prepared. They knew what was coming. I had ended up having an emergency C-section, not as dire as like in your case, but so they were all ready, and the doctors congratulated me. So, completely different scenario than yourself.
Yeah.
And, that's, I think that would be hard to get over that because it's a significant part of your journey.
Yeah, also, I never knew how this is impacting me in my day-to-day living up until, I think, as I mentioned, only after coming to India
Mm-hmm.
and after having some time to just process a few things for myself. I've been, and I had a couple of other life events also, which were, in a way traumatic. But only then I realized that I'm going through this whole grief cycle. I
Mm-hmm.
should have taken professional help. I did. I wish,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's not like I never seek. I did. I seek out to professionals,
Mm-hmm.
and they said that you seem to be doing just fine. And I'm like, I'm feeling all these things in my head.
Mm-hmm.
It should be the other way around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Generally, it's the
Mm-hmm.
professionals who say, and it's the patient who is in denial that, no, I think I'm fine. In my case, it was the opposite. And I'm telling them that I think I have depression, or it could be postpartum, or it could be, I don't know what,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't feel good.
Yeah.
And it's like really emotional. I catch myself crying, sitting in the car by myself or in
Mm-hmm.
the shower or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, I was told that most mothers do that. It's got nothing to do with having a child who's neurodivergent. And I'm like,
I I don't know.
okay.
I've only got the one kid, but I think it really
Okay.
depends how long it goes on for, right? I think, yes, there is some
Yeah.
postpartum for sure, but we all have that grief, especially like with such a traumatic birth diagnosis as yourself. I think that is completely normal, what you're, unfortunately, we're going through. But
Yeah. No, but
you got to give yourself
I've,
some
I've, I've,
grace.
I've learned to deal with it much. I'm in a much better space now.
That's
And
good.
I give 100% credit to my family, my husband and my children for this. Of course, my parents, my siblings, his parents, his siblings, everybody has been extremely supportive.
Oh,
Like,
that's, mm-hmm,
Arya is loved and how by everyone. Like the relationship that he has with rest of the family is
mm-hmm.
stronger than what I have. Like he is like, people love him.
That's
And we've been
wonderful.
very fortunate to have encountered so many kind people back in the US,
Mm-hmm.
even here in India, outside of family also, that have been extremely supportive and understanding. And I feel that, I have not had so many of those moments where it felt like a stigma, or, people were like staring at us. I mean, that happens all the
Mm-hmm.
time, but like not something so evident. But I have been more overwhelmed by the kindness and empathy that people have shown towards us. We've found like incredibly good people, and it's one thing that I have to be thankful to Arya for the learning, for making me who I am today as a person and a professional. I
Mm-hmm.
think I'm a much better therapist
Yeah.
having lived that journey,
Mm-hmm.
and just having encountered all these people who, like, and a lot of them have been like so nice to Arya that even I'm not that good to him. Like I'm being very candid and honest here that there is only this much of Arya that I can take, being his mom, loving him the most in this universe. But people have been so kind and patient, and like, my son he went through these spurts when he would spit on people's faces, like a
Mm.
mouthful of spit on your face for
Oh,
no rhyme or
jeez.
reason, right?
Yeah.
Imagine how disgusting that is. And he goes to a fitness class here in Bombay, and his coach, the instructor, his name is Rustam Gordon. You know, he never even blinks his eyes when something like this happens, and he's always smiling and always so patient. And I asked him, Rustam, how do you do this? Like, just explain me, like, how are you able to tolerate this? And his response was, listen, Pooja, Bombay is hot and his spit is cooling on my face.
Yeah. Oh.
Like, it's this, if I ever end up writing a book on my journey,
Mm-hmm.
this story is definitely going to be highlighted. And what has helped me deal in all of this is this kindness,
Mm-hmm.
the support, the empathy, and from the most like unexpected places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At the grocery store,
Mm-hmm.
when Arya was having a meltdown, stripping his clothes, taking out his pull up and everything when he was about 4.5 or so. And I am like perspiring. And there comes a lady, and she's like, I got this.
Aw.
And like when she's helping out, and I'm just sobbing, and another one comes with tissues for me. And in between, we went through this phase when Arya was given a secondary diagnosis of autism.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like that double whammy phase for us.
Mm-hmm.
And on that day, the daycare where he used to go, those guys got me a smiley balloon, something like so small.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like, if you're asking me about my journey, the initial part, I was thinking about all the whys, and why didn't that person tell me? And there was a lot of anger, and it, like that sense of betrayal, like, I was, my trust was broken, and I had faith in you and you failed me, and there were a lot of those negative emotions.
Mm-hmm.
But now there have been so many positive encounters. His shadow teacher, his one-on-one aide, and his homeroom teacher, and his classmates, whether in the US or over here, and the security guard in the building where I live, when he opens the door, always being so patient with Arya, the nanny that we have at home, just about so many people
Mm-hmm.
saying such kind things for him,
Oh.
being so patient with me,
Mm-hmm.
with him, that life is okay.
Oh, that is so wonderful to hear that, it's kind of come full circle for you. And what advice would you give someone if they have just received a Down syndrome diagnosis of their child, either prenatally or at birth?
If it is prenatal, I would say that go by the facts, talk to people, and by facts I mean lived experiences, to understand the the bigger total picture of what it looks like to have a child with Down syndrome. And don't feel that you will be judged for whatever decision you take in life. It is your life, your body, your child, and you should have the freedom to make whatever choice, and there is no right or wrong about it. And at the same time, a lot of stories about how well an individual with Down syndrome is doing, whether it is sports or dance or any other field they are doing. But the truth is that to some extent, even within the disability community, there is a little bit of ableism.
Mm-hmm.
So, as
Mm-hmm.
much as a person is celebrated to a person with Down syndrome is celebrated for their achievement,
Mm-hmm.
I feel that we also need to highlight those who are not able to achieve some of those things, but just say that you are enough.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you are enough.
Whether you
Mm-hmm.
are able to do something or not does not really matter. Your presence, your being here is enough.
Mm-hmm.
That part is somewhere missing. So now, I see that children with Down syndrome are becoming athletes and models and dancers. And will my child also be that? Maybe, maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
that fact has to be presented to them in a very factual manner, putting aside all the emotions, and then it should be the mom's or the family's decision how they want to proceed. If they choose to proceed, 100%, they should have the kind of support that I wish, like most people had, like all the resources being available, and a lot of moral support for the parents, because they are embarking on a journey which is by no means easy.
Mm-hmm.
you know it is it is not bad. I wouldn't say it's good or bad or anything. It's different. It's
Mm-hmm.
just different.
Yeah.
Not good, not bad. I don't like to put, like, those labels to it. And if it is a postnatal diagnosis, from my own experience, I would tell the parents that prioritize yourself as much as you do to your child. Prioritize your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, your
Mm-hmm.
relationship, your career, your happiness, as much as you you know you want to prioritize your child, because instinctively, like, parents keep their children before themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, like, I hit this burnout level,
Mm-hmm.
and I realized that I've gone way, way, way past burnout,
Mm-hmm.
and to crawl back has been incredibly difficult. It's
Mm-hmm.
very easy to go that route and
Yes.
incredibly difficult to climb back up. And so, one very strong advice I would say is that this journey is, again, like, different.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing good, bad, wrong, right, better, worse about it. Whether, even with my journey with my second born, who is neurotypical, is also different.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told this quote that, the days you feel low, think about your track record, it's been 100%. So you get through this one as well. So
Wonderful. Well, Pooja, thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey, really. And
thank you for inviting me.
oh, you're more than welcome. And I'm glad to see that you've come out on the other side of such a difficult beginning, uh, with the birth of your son and everything that happened during that time. And it's wonderful to see that, you're doing well and your children are loved. And, it sounds like things are going well.
And I'll just add one thing that,
Hmm.
in this journey, like, I have learned to accept and, mindfully process that even after whatever the level of acceptance I have today, there there definitely have been moments, and there will come moments when it just feels like too much, that I
Hmm.
just can't do it anymore. uh, and it's okay to have those moments. It's normal to have those moments. Just accepting yourself, being kind to yourself in that
Hmm.
moment, that it's okay for me to feel these emotions. It would be great to have some sort of, a friend, or your spouse, or sibling, or, any other person out there who understands you in this journey and who is supportive of you.
Hmm.
It really helps. It has helped me. I've been very fortunate to have lot of those people. And I'll just call somebody random hour, and I don't even need to say anything. They understand.
That's
So,
wonderful.
so having that kind of support system is really important. And
Hmm.
yeah, remembering that you will encounter these moments. There will be challenges.
Hmm.
Something new could come up medically. Like, now my son is having alopecia, and he
Mm.
had, like, the most beautiful hair, and now
Ah.
he's having these patches. And everybody used to talk about, look how silky his hair is, and, like, we had, like, videos of him shaking his hair and his hair going like this and all. And, like, I've also heard comments like, okay, fine, like, he has Down syndrome and he's cute and all, but just look at his hair. Aren't you envious of his hair? And now
Hmm.
the Down syndrome is taking away his hair. Okay, this is difficult for me to process.
Hmm.
But And it's okay for me to go through these emotions. Like I'm in the middle of my work and suddenly I've caught myself tearing up, you know, for no rhyme or reason, no trigger in that moment, just because I thought about something. Or like I know that, a birthday party is coming up, and just the thought that how well is he going to be able to participate. And some days I'm like, I'm really excited for him to go. And some days I'm like, oh my God, like I won't be able to watch other children doing all these things. And my son, I don't know, like he's
Hmm.
going to be just sitting, and these waves keep coming and going.
Oh,
But now
yes.
I have learned to accept
Hmm.
that it's okay. This is also as valid of an emotion as
Hmm.
anything else, and I've got to process it.
Exactly. That's what I've learned too, that it ebbs and flows. And I know that the grief is sort of always in the background, but sometimes it's more in the foreground. And I think now I'm aware of that. So
Yeah,
it doesn't make it easier, but at least I'm in some ways it does, because I know that it's going to ebb and flow throughout the years. Like during,
yeah,
there'll be, like you said, like a birthday party or some kind of event, and it can trigger that. And but I think that's part of the whole process for us parents, is that to be aware of that, and like you said, to acknowledge it, and it's okay to have those feelings. Even, my daughter's 11, your son's 8.5. I don't think for a lot of us parents that those feelings ever really go away. They're always sort of
they do.
lingering in the background.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, like, end of the day, my son is such a rock star.
Hmm.
I am known as his mom. He is
Hmm.
so social, and I don't know. I mean, like, I he's a very hardworking boy. I mean,
Hmm.
like, he gets the best and the worst out of me, but so does my other son. And yeah, it's a journey that only people who have similar journeys can understand.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's
You're very
been
welcome.
really a pleasure to speak with you. It's been wonderful to hear your story.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I was really appalled at what happened to Pooja. As she said, she was at one of the best hospitals in the US. It wasn't just one incident, but multiple incidents that really should not have happened. And even the doctor telling her it could have been something so much worse than Down syndrome. And this was supposed to be an apology. Who even says things like that? Especially a doctor. However, I really loved what Pooja said. And that is that true acceptance comes when you stop questioning. Because I go through that too sometimes, really kind of question what we're going on this journey and how everything's going to turn out. But I think that is so true, that's when acceptance comes. And to remember that not all of our children are going to be kids who are superstars, Down syndrome superstars. And that's okay. Your child, just as he or she is enough. Thanks for listening to the T21 Mom podcast. I'm doing my very best to get episodes out each week and during these summer months. And as I've said many times before, this is a true labor of love. So please be patient. I will do my best. And please tell your friends and others in the Down syndrome community about my little podcast, because word of mouth is a powerful thing. Keep on loving on your rocking kiddos, and we'll see you next time.